Well, it says that we're alive. So, welcome, Alan Munde, and hey, Seth.
Hey, Jan.
How you all doing?
We're good. Good to have Alan here with us.
Oh, it's wonderful. And we got some some music here from 1974 at the Bill Grant's Festival in Hugo, Oklahoma. And we're going to start with the Country Gazette. And of course, Alan was a founding member of that band. When did you all start? You recorded the first album, I believe, in 1972, The Traitor in Our Midst.
That's correct. Byron and Roger Bush were playing with Doug Dillard, and Doug sort of fell out, and Roger and Byron wanted to keep going, so they organized a group called Country Gazette, of which they tried to get Herb Peterson originally, but he had just left the Dillards and was more interested at that time in a solo career, possibly. And so Byron got in touch with me. I had written him or called him, I can't remember, and told him I was leaving Jimmy Martin and would be interested in coming to California and playing if there's anything going on. And he told me that he and Roger were trying to get Country Gazette together. So I went out there in January of 1972.
Okay. And how, you remember when y'all recorded that first album?
Sure do. I believe it was along in the fall.
Yeah.
I believe, but as I think about it, I can't. It was probably during the summer of 72, and we were working at Disneyland.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, we were sort of an atmospheric character bluegrass band that played in what was called and is still called, I think, Bear Country Jamboree. And we'd dress up in sort of woodsman outfits, the great Northwest, and we'd play bluegrass music, various spots, and we did that for 10 or 11 weeks. And it was while we were working at Disneyland that we recorded that Traitor in Our Midst album.
Yeah.
So we were in pretty good playing shape. It worked out real well.
Yeah. So at that time, Kenny Burke was a guitar.
Got an echo there, Jan.
Let me,
Yeah.
can you get better?
Have you got your Facebook playing, Jan?
No, just, well, let's see here. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think it's picking up that echo, though.
Okay, well, why don't you play a little music and then I'll try to
Okay.
figure out what's going on here.
Let me get the camera situated.
Alan, do you remember this festival? Anything in particular? Bill Grant?
About Bill Grant's festival. Yeah, I knew Bill Grant. I'm from Oklahoma,
Right.
and Bill was a bluegrass character around the state at that time. And he was a huge, huge Bill Monroe fan, as most bluegrassers were.
Yeah.
And still are. And he lived in Hugo, Oklahoma, which is down in the southeastern corner of the state.
Okay.
And he, through his rural co-op down there, maybe called, I forget what it was called, I'll think of it. Anyway, they would have an annual meeting, and Bill Grant arranged for Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys to play 2 years in a row at that event. And I went down, I think, for both of them. And so I knew Bill and visited his house. Bill Monroe, we all went out to his house and played music. Byron was in the band at that time, Roland White, Dick Jordan, and James Monroe was the bass player. And we went over to Bill Grant's house and played music way until the night, and had a really great time. And so I met Bill Grant at that time, and then not long after that, he started the festival. And I went down to, I'm going to say the first one he had. I was still a student at the University of Oklahoma and went down there. And then I went to work with Jimmy Martin in 1969. And we played probably 70 and 71, I'm guessing, with Jimmy Martin. And then 72, I went with Country Gazette, and 70, we played it a couple years as Country Gazette. Maybe it was 73 and 74, probably. Or 74 or 75. I can't really remember. If Byron were here, he would know. But anyway, we played for Bill Grant's festival a couple of times. And, it rained a lot. It always rained. It seemed like it rained. It was in August. So it was hot to start with. And then with the rain, it was just hot and humid. And Bill Grant would, in order to sort of keep people out of the mud, he bought a bunch of hay bales and spread them out. Well, if you know what hay and mud make, it's like adobe. So you would walk through that and you would have 5-10 pounds of adobe, mud and straw stuck to your feet. I remember Roger Bush, he's from California, and he would wear sort of slip-on shoes a lot. Well, he lost those right away, just sucked them right off his feet. So there was that for sure. But it was a great, great event. Bill Grant did a really wonderful thing having that festival, and he had it for many years. I don't know actually how long it ran.
Did he record with Delia or Bell?
Yes. She was from down there in that part of the state also, and Bill and Delia Bell played as a duet, and then fronted a band, the Kiamichi Mountain Boys, I think, and that is the name of the electric co-op, Kiamichi Electric Co-op.
Okay.
So, and that's a Indian tribe, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I got a couple of their albums. Roses in the Snow, I believe, was one of the songs they.
Right.
New to me,
Right. Did she write that?
No, I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay. But she was maybe the first one to record that song. I'm not certain.
I think so.
Let me back up. Kiamichi is the name of the mountains down there.
Okay.
Kiamichi Mountains.
It's the word must come from India.
You think? I would think so.
Yeah. So Seth, I'm going to try to fix my mic here. So why don't you play a little bit?
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get this rolling, and we'll listen to 4 or 5 songs and then take a break.
Okay. All right. I'm going to mute you.
Well, get me back later on tonight. Tell you what I'd like to do right now, folks. I'd like to thank Bill Grant for allowing me to come over here again this year. I think right now would be a pretty good time for you. I see you standing back in the wings there. I hope you can hear what I'm about to say. He works real hard every year for this big festival, Bluegrass Festival. This is one of the biggest in the country, one of the real super giants in the country. And I'm glad to see it. I said this last year and the year before, when you see it migrating 5, 6, 10 years ago, you didn't hear much of bluegrass in this part of the country. Bill Grant's been responsible for making it move a little bit more to the southwest. So I think right now would be a good time to give a great big hand. Bill, are you back there? Big hand to Bill Grant and all the bunch for working awfully hard. Now take a bow. I'll embarrass him, but he sure has preserved it and has really helped promote our great brand of bluegrass music. Have some fellows backstage now. It's my pleasure to introduce that I know you folks will enjoy very much. This will be their second appearance here. I've seen them work before several times. They're becoming one of the great names in bluegrass, folk, playing a lot of universities, of course, a lot of the festivals. Van Nuys, California. Great big hand for the Country Gazette. Here they are. Testing. Testing. Oh. Oh, thank you. Goodness. What happened to that song? That's good old panhandle country. You almost got away from us there. We don't usually do our first song quite that fast. Now we got nothing left. We're the Country Gazette. I imagine most of you have seen us already this weekend, but if any of you are here for the first time, we'd like for everybody to know who we all are. And we all have names, even the Okies over here. This one over here is from Oklahoma. His name is Alan Munde. Big Slim. A couple of folks asked me, I forget how she put it, this one lady asked me, is that the same Alan Munde that used to play for Jimmy Martin? The one that was like, that's him. Goodness, that's what happens when you move to Southern California. Here's another Okie here, grew up on a farm up there in Oklahoma, and along with his farm chores, he learned to play the fiddle. He did. 3 times national fiddle champion, Byron Berline. And over here we have our bluegrass buck dancer, guitar player, and bottle washer and bus driver. No, we've been kind of putting him through it up here, wading through the mud. You know, it's bad enough if you're tall like Byron to get through this mud, but when you get rolling the guitar that's almost as big as he is, and he's got one of those airline proof cases, big old heavy guitar case that he's got that in. And by the time he gets from up there, or back there, up there to the stage through that mud, it's clear up to his knees. Of course, he hasn't got as much space from his feet to his knees. These guys do. He'll get there. That's Roland White.
And this guy doing all the talking up here, and he does, as you'll find out a little later. We call him Flutter Lip for short. And he's from the state of California, by the way, so I guess that makes him a prune picker.
Right.
So let's give a hand to Roger Bush here on the bass fiddle.
On this show this afternoon, we've had a lot of requests. A lot of the songs that people request are songs that maybe we did last year when we were here and haven't done them since, or just songs that they heard we did maybe, or something that we don't do a whole lot. And we're going to try to answer a bunch of the requests, but a lot of the songs, like I say, are stuff we don't normally do. So if we get a little hung up on words or fall off the stage or anything like that, it's just because we're trying something a little different. One of them is a song that's on our new album. I guess we should know all the songs on it, but we don't. And this is an old song the Leuven brothers made this famous years back. Tells a real nice country story. It's a thing called "I Don't Believe You Fed My Baby." Last night, my dear, the rain was falling. I went to bed so sad and blue. Then I had a dream of you. I dreamed I was floating in the evening underneath the harvest moon. I was thinking about you, and then we met out in the moonlight. The stars were shining in your eyes, but another was there too. Your arm was resting on his shoulder. You smiled at him, he smiled at me. His eyes were filled with victory. I don't believe you met my baby. You smiled at him, you smiled at each other on that. His eyes were filled with victory. Your arm was resting on his shoulder. You smiled at him, he smiled at me. His eyes were filled with victory. He said, my sister wants to marry me. Then my heart was filled with thee. I knew that you would marry me. Oh, they just looked at each other and smiled at each other back and forth all the way through that song, didn't they? Like I said, we're liable to forget a word here and there. And this early in the day for us, kind of hard to make them up real quick. We're going to have some banjo playing. We can always rely on Big Al here. He always comes through. He's been, what's the matter, Al? We were back here, back in the back. They got a little knife back there for scraping off your shoes because you get so much mud on them coming down through here and you can't hardly lift them once you finally get up on the stage. And I got halfway down and had to go back because I forgot something. So by the time I got up there on stage, my shoes are about 4 or 5 sizes bigger than they usually are. They look like snowshoes on there. And I got that knife and started scraping them off. I found a snake, a little baby squirrel, and a 6-pack of Coors in there. Well, I couldn't believe it. You really collected stuff coming up here. It's amazing. I'll scrape them off again, see what else I find. Here's a little song that we thought we might do just because we're playing here in Salt Creek Park, a little thing called Salt Creek.
All right, Salt Creek.
That was some mighty fine banjo playing.
Thank you.
That's when did you? I can still hear the echo.
Alan, do you know what banjo you were playing there?
You know, Stelling wasn't making banjos at that time. I knew him. I had met him when I was living in Nashville, but I was probably playing some version of a Gibson throwed together thing.
I remember you mentioned you usually played like a Gibson parts type banjo.
Yeah, am I still on? My computer screen went black.
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what happened to your picture, but anyway, I'll see if I can get you back. But anyway, I had like I said, there we are. I had a Gibson style that was, I believe, and I may have actually bought it there in Hugo from an Oklahoma guy named Gary Price, who's still around. Do you? He's still around and makes banjo cases and banjo tailpieces and stuff like that. But he actually maybe delivered that banjo while I was there. So it was whatever I had. It was a Gibson parts banjo. So it was probably pretty good, but I wound up liking the Stelling better, but that's probably what I played there. And I noticed that Roger made reference to the mud.
Yeah.
So I was right about that. And he had mentioned that we were there the year before. So if that's 74, we were there 73 and 74.
Okay.
And I believe that second year, Country Store was there, which was Keith Whitley and Jimmy Goodrow and Bill Rollins, and all of a sudden Arnold.
Jimmy Arnold.
Jimmy Arnold was supposed to be there as their banjo player, but he, I believe, got sick and couldn't make the trip. So I played with them. And that live stuff that was done with them appeared on an album called Country Store Live.
Yep.
So, and it's really extra special good with, Keith Whitley and Jimmy Goodrow and Bill.
Yep.
Had just a really top-notch trio.
Yeah, indeed.
Stunning. But anyway, Country Gazette, you know, it's kind of surprising. I didn't know we started with Panhandle Country. I don't remember
Yeah.
that. I was kind of surprised that we started with that, but it turned out well.
Well, it was a big break you took on that one. I'm trying to think in my mind what position you were using for the B part on that.
Well, it's a big top secret. I can't tell you. That's where all the money comes from. For me, is from that.
Well, it sure was good.
Anyway, no, and it was great to hear Roland and Roger sing "I Don't Believe You Met My Baby," and that was very cool. So, and that was on our second album. So,
Don't give up your day job.
Don't give up your day job. Yeah, Kenny Wirtz had apparently left. You know,
But he was on both albums. So
yes.
not the artist.
Right. Roland came in and took his place. And
Yeah.
Kenny was from San Diego and loved the salt sea air and didn't like traveling so much. So he quit. And we got Roland to come in because Roland's brother had died. And so it was really great. Great guitar player.
Yeah.
The solos to Salt Creek, really good.
Yeah, he played laughing guitar.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
Jan, why don't we listen to a few more here and see what the rest of the set's got?
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay, another song that we don't do real often, and even when we do it often, it seems like we get hung up on the words on this one. But we're going to try it. This is off our first album, the Crater in Our Midst album, one entitled I Wish You Knew. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to tell you, how hard I've tried to get you off my mind. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to sleep tonight, since you know that you're no longer mine, since you let another beat my time. If only half the things were true you said about my heart, then I would have forgotten you since we've been apart. You said I forced my lips to kiss you when we said goodbye. You said I even forced a tear that came into my eyes. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to tell you, how hard I've tried to get you off my mind. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to sleep at night, since you know that you're no longer mine, since you let another beat my time. There's only one thing worse for me in knowing that you're gone, that in the picture in your mind I'm never all alone. You see me in another's arms just like I've been with you, and from the way I sleep at night, I only wish you knew. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to tell you, how hard I've tried to get you off my mind. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to sleep tonight, since you know that you're no longer mine, since you let another beat my time. I've tried to tell you, how hard I've tried to get you off my mind. I wish you knew how hard I've tried to sleep tonight, since you know that you're no longer mine, since you let another beat my time. We're going to have to do more songs where a few of the people know the words. I just caught glimpses of people singing that, just enough to remind me of the words that were coming next. That's great. What are we doing? Let's have a fiddle tune. Aren't you ready to do an old-time fiddle tune? Why, certainly he is. You know, there's so many fine old fiddle tunes, and Byron does them all good. And I think what happens to a group like ours is we just sort of take turns liking one. And right now we're kind of giving an old song called Cotton Patch its turn. He's been doing that quite a bit here recently. About, 10 years ago, he recorded an album with a group called the Dillards, where it's all old-time fiddle tunes. And what is it called? Picking and Fiddling? And it's the Dillards, but it features Byron Berline. He does all these old fiddle tunes on it. And we got to listening to it, and one of them was this Cotton Patch. And so we asked him if he couldn't still do it, because we all kind of liked it. And he does, and he's going to. Here's a little Cotton Patch. Cotton Patch Red. I've been drifting, I've been feeling, I've been lonesome, I've been talking to myself, and I ain't got much to say. Tired of stories and I've heard them anyway. All the people stepping by me got a place that they call home. I got nothing but my wanting and these hands to call my own. How far am I from where I began yesterday? How much farther do I have to roam? I guess I'm weary of traveling and drinking my pay, but I'm scared of the only way home. How far am I from where I began yesterday? How much farther do I have to roam? I guess I'm weary of traveling and drinking my pay, but I'm scared of the only way home. How far am I from where I began yesterday? How much farther do I have to roam? I guess I'm weary of traveling and drinking my pay, but I'm scared of the only way home. But I'm scared of the only way home. Whoa! Well, there's nothing to do but open it up. Declaration of Independence. Oh. They won't let me open it any further. Not plugging base.
It's on sale backstage now. Looks just like you. Isn't that amazing?
He's been up there taking pictures. He does that for a living, and he just gave me this because that was his last picture. I just ruined the camera. Just tore it all to pieces. We take and print pictures in 6 minutes for $3.99 behind the seating. So if anybody wants a picture, there's a place to do it. Hopefully it won't come out that bad. You know, he needs a haircut. He really does. Bill Grant said that, and I didn't agree with him, but now I do.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. Pictures don't lie.
I can't get it rolled back up. Don't step on that now. Take that home. We need a new dart game. What is next? I think maybe we'll get Roland to sing one here. We had some requests for Roland to do an old timer here. One is nobody can do quite like Roland. Little thing called I'd Rather Be in Some Dark Hollow. I'd rather be in some dark hollow where the sun don't ever shine than to be home alone and knowing that you're gone would cause me to lose my mind. So blow your whistle, freight train, carry me farther on down the track. I'm going away, I'm leaving today, I'm going and I ain't coming back. I'd rather be in some dark hollow where the sun don't ever shine than to be in some big city in a small room with your loving on my mind. I'd rather be in some dark hollow where the sun don't ever shine than to be home alone and knowing that you're gone would cause me to lose my mind. So blow your whistle, freight train, and me farther on down the track. I'm going away, I'm leaving today. I'm going and I ain't coming back. We are going to have a little something different here right now. You know, it was once upon a time when you hired a band to play for a dance, you didn't get all this bass fiddles and guitars and things.
You get Ike and Tina Turner.
Ike and Tina Turner. No, I mean back before that, Al. Just a little.
That's what we got when we hired a band at my high school.
Oh, is that? No, I'm talking about when your grandpappy was in high school, maybe.
I think Mike Ken went to school.
I don't know. Hope so. No, back, you know, it used to be that just a fiddle player was all it took. They'd get a fiddle player and a bottle of White Lightning or something, and they'd just sit there and fiddle all night, and everybody danced, and that's all it took. And then down through the years, a few of these smart aleck banjo players sort of learned how to play along behind the fiddle player. And some of the music they made with just a banjo and a fiddle was really something. And if you're into this kind of music and banjo fiddle music, things like that, I'm sure that you know that one of the two people who do the old-time banjo fiddle music best today are, of course, the Berry Brothers. And we're lucky enough to have them right here, Huckle and Dingle, and we're going to have them do a little thing called, they haven't told me what they're going to do. Dusty Miller. Oh, good.
Figure we'd just take a quick break there. One question I had for Alan: who was which brother was Huckle and which was Dingle?
I don't know if we ever worked that out or not.
That's a wonderful rendition there of
Oh,
Dusty
definitely
Miller.
Byron's a real go-getter on that one.
Yeah. I mean, in general, he plays with such authority and just absolutely perfect delivery.
I can only agree.
And he can play the southwestern style and just bluegrass. So yeah, he's one of the top players for sure.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Jan, it looks like we had a good question pop up while we were
From
listening to that last set. It says,
yeah, this is from Randall Cotton. And he is asking, how did the early Gazette choose its songs? Were some of the songs they recorded on their first couple of albums 60s pop tunes, like Roses for a Sunday Morning?
Right. Well, actually, Roses for a Sunday Morning was written by a friend of mine, as was that The Only Way Home that we played in that set.
Right.
Was written by a guy named John Hadley, who's a songwriter. And he's from Ohio originally, but lives in Oklahoma, and in Norman, where I'm from. And I knew him back when I was in college. And he always was a songwriter, always wrote songs.
Uh-huh.
And so we were fortunate enough to record a few of his, like Roses for a Sunday Morning and The Only Way Home.
Right.
And we did a song called The Tracker, and Love Over Lonesome were some of his songs.
Right.
He also wrote Too Old to Die Young, which was a country hit. And the Osborne brothers recorded it. And so he's had several many successes in music. The Dixie Chicks recorded one of his songs. So anyway, but those first two albums, our producer was Jim Dixon, and our manager was Eddie Tickner. And Jim and Eddie were very involved with the Byrds, the Burrito Brothers, Linda Ronstadt to a certain extent. So they were sort of hip to all these songs, and Jim Dixon especially recommended songs to us. Those first two albums, or the first album, we did two Gene Clark songs, Tried So Hard and Keep On Pushing. And those were his suggestions. And we worked on them and liked them, and so we did them. The second album we did Honky Cat, which was an Elton John song on his recommendation. Also Winterwood, which was a Don McLean song. So we did that. So Jim Dixon.
You all recorded Teach Your Children?
Teach Your Children, that was a Jim Dixon recommendation.
Yeah.
And there were probably others, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Right.
But Jim Dixon was very, very important on our first 4 albums. He was a really special guy, producer.
Yeah.
So
he he was involved with the Kentucky, excuse me, the new Kentucky Colonels.
yes, Eddie Tickner, who was Country Gazette's manager early on, when Clarence left the Byrds,
Right.
he went with Eddie Tickner as manager, and that tour we did in Europe, which the Live in Sweden
Right.
music came from, was an Eddie Tickner promoted thing. And the last recordings that Clarence White did were produced by Jim Dixon. Clarence was working on an album, I believe, for Atlantic Records, and Jim Dixon was the producer.
Yeah.
And so the last studio recordings of Clarence were produced by Jim Dixon, who also produced our stuff. He also did the Dillards. He did a Deanne and the Greenbrier Boys. He did the album that became Dueling Banjos, which was Eric Weisberg and Marshall Brickman.
Right. Yeah.
And he was instrumental in the Scottsville Squirrel Barkers,
Okay.
which is kind of a regional group out of San Diego that included Kenny Wirtz and Chris Hillman. So he was quite an influential individual.
Yes.
And so a lot of input of those kinds of songs came from Jim Dixon.
Yeah. And Clarence White recorded on your Don't Give Up Your Day Job album.
He did. He recorded on Huckleberry Hornpipe and Winterwood and Honky Cat.
Yeah. I think he was listed as playing dobro as well.
He played on Winterwood, he played a dobro guitar,
Okay.
a Spanish style dobro guitar, not the lap kind with the bar. Just, he played that. And also I saw on Facebook a post, somebody posted about Lee Sklar, the famous bass player. Well, Lee Sklar played electric bass for us on Honky Cat and Winterwood.
Yeah.
So those were our sort of pop, country-ish songs we recorded with hopes of them being picked up and liked.
So, for example, Huckleberry Hornpipe, how did y'all record that? Did y'all do it live? All of it?
Yes, it was live, and we did it. I wish Byron were here. He could tell you how many times. But I believe we probably tried it 5 or 6 times to get it. And what you hear on the record is what was the final take. But all of it was live.
Yeah.
All of that song was live.
Yeah. Were y'all sitting in different booths or isolated or?
Well, we were set in a circle and maybe had some baffles between us, but it was pretty much just us playing with each other, although we did have headphones, I do believe.
Yeah.
But it was, pretty live. A lot of the stuff, those first 2 albums were done live. Recorded almost all of them. Now, if there's a mandolin and a fiddle, Byron overdubbed one or the other, of course.
Like the Hot Burrito Breakdown.
Hot Burrito Breakdown, yes.
Is that one of you? That's one of your numbers, isn't it?
Actually, it's not. Okay. It's written by Roger Bush and Byron Berline.
Yeah.
And they had written it during their tour with the Flying Burrito Brothers. So when I came in the group, they said, here's this tune we wrote. Would you be interested in working it up and doing it? And I said, sure. So.
Yeah. And then there was one called like Snowball, or
now that's a tune that Byron and I wrote.
Yeah.
While we were in Boulder, Colorado, we were playing a club there that I think is still there called Tulagis.
Okay.
And we stayed at a downtown hotel, and there was snow. It was Boulder, Colorado, snow.
Right.
And so sitting around in the hotel room playing, Byron and I came up with that tune.
Okay. That's a pretty interesting tune.
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Roland and Roger Bush, they go back to the Kentucky Colonels days.
Sure do.
So they had, sang a lot together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Seth, do you have any more music left?
We sure do. Looks like there's about 4 songs left in the Country Gazette set, and we can listen to those now if you think that's suitable.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then we can, have a little. If people have any more questions, we'll try to answer them with Alan's help.
Yeah. Well, let's put on some music and go from there.
Yep.
We're going to do a request number here, but it's one that we've already done, but we get so many requests for it, and it really makes us feel good because it's one of our favorite songs on our new album. And this one we're supposed to know. We might even remember all the words to it. We're all going to take a little trip down the road. Forget it. Yeah. Down the road, down the road, got a little pretty girl down the road. Out down the road about a mile or two, lives a little girl named Pearlie Sue. Fly so high to get on the ground, pretty slim boys in this town. Down the road, got a little pretty girl down the road. Now every day and Sunday too, I go to see my Pearlie Sue. Oh, you dare the rooster go, you see me heading down the road. Down the road, got a little pretty girl down the road. anytime you want to know where I'm heading down the road. To get my girl on the line, you find me there most any old time. Down the road, got this pretty girl down the road. Now Byron Burland on the farm, from the hog line to the barn, from the barn to the rail, he made his living by turning the mail. Down the road, got a pretty girl down the road. All right, this next song is one that we really don't do hardly ever, maybe once a month or so. Not even that long, about twice a year, I think would be more like it. In fact, the last two times I can remember doing it was, a couple of months ago we did it once at a festival in Langley, Oklahoma. And the last time before that was here last year, I think we did it. Somebody heard it and wanted to hear it. And we're going to try it. You know, a lot of the old-time bluegrass songs, the ones that tell stories especially, usually are written around a true happening. And something like this actually did happen, and the song was written about it. And Bill Monroe recorded this years ago. And also it's a slow song, and it has a real pretty melody line to it. And just falls right into twin fiddle work. So we're going to have Dave Ferguson come out here and play a little twin fiddles with Byron. You were here. Where is he? Give him a hand. There he is. You know, with two fiddle players that size, you're almost forced into liking twin fiddles. You have to get an extension on the microphone, get it up high enough. This is called The Little Girl and the Dreadful Snake. My darling wandered far away while she was out at play. Off in the woods, she couldn't hear a sound. She was a darling girl, the sweetest thing in all the world. I searched for her, but she couldn't be found. I heard the screams of our little girl far away. Hurry, Daddy, there's an awful dreadful snake. I ran as fast as I could through the dark and dreary woods, but I reached our darling girl too late. Begin to sigh. I knew that soon she'd have to die, for the snake was warning me close by. I held her close to my face. She said, Daddy, kill the snake. It's getting dark. Tell Mommy goodbye. I heard the screams of our little girl far away. Hurry, Daddy, there's an awful dreadful snake. I ran as fast as I could through the dark and dreary woods, but I reached our darling girl too late. your children stray away. They need your love to guide them along. Oh God, I pray we'll see our darling someday. It seems I still can hear her voice around our home. I heard the scream of a little girl far away. Her daddy left an awful dreadful snake. I ran as fast as I could through the dark and weary woods, but I reached our darling girl too late. Thank you. Oh, mercy. Well, we got Dave up here. Let's see. Byron Berline and Roland White both at one time, both at the same time, played with the Bluegrass Boys with Bill Monroe. And during the time they were with Bill, they recorded a little thing called Gold Rush. And we've had numerous requests for that thing. And Byron and Dave were messing around with the two fiddles, and they worked it up twin fiddles. And as good a fiddle tune as this is, this ought to make it at least twice as good. As big as they are, it might make it 4 times as good. Oh, yes, and this will be our last number. They're going to have a little break. And I would like to remind you that we do have an album or two back here for sale. We got our Don't Give Up Your Day Job album, and also our first one, the Trader in Our Midst. And we also, Roland and I used to belong to a group called the Kentucky Colonels, and they got that London release thing that we got a hold of. Smuggled it over here on the boat we did. And we got a few of each of them left back there, so if you want an album, come back there backstage when we're through, and we'll see what we can do. You guys ready for a little Gold Rush here? Here we go. Yeah.
They'll be back on tonight if you can stay with us. We got a lot of program here left for you tonight. Several of the bands that you didn't see this afternoon will be back on tonight. We got enough stuff to last till about midnight. We're going to take about an hour break here. Here he is. Here he is. Yeah, I'm standing out here just talking.
Well, excuse me, Alan. That's really good to hear. Well, like Roland, for example, I swear his guitar tone is very much or very similar to his brother's. I think.
Yes.
The tone, was that
Yes.
Clarence's old that new guitar he had ordered, that Mark White book guitar? Was that
I
the
think
one?
it was. I think Roland played the Mark White book guitar,
Yeah,
which is what Clarence used on the live in Sweden.
right. Yeah. Well, do you remember what he was playing for the Huckleberry Hornpipe session?
I think he played. There's another guitar builder in California named Roy Noble,
No, yeah.
and I think that was the guitar he played on the Huckleberry Hornpipe.
Okay. Yeah. And just the old timey sound you got on the Monroe Quartet number there.
Yeah,
It was good to hear Roland on the mandolin too.
right. Well, it was so funny. As I was listening to that, I thought, wow, that's Roland on the mandolin, but there's a guitar in there. Who's playing guitar? And I listened for a while and I thought, well, there's no banjo. So it must be me playing guitar.
Wow.
So I had forgotten that I guess I did that. Yeah. And Dave Ferguson was a friend of ours from Fort Worth, Texas, and a real
Right.
protege of Byron's.
Right.
And Dave worked with us for a while after Byron left.
Yeah,
and
I
recorded.
remember. He played beautifully.
He was a great player and a nice fella.
Yeah.
Very good guy.
He had his he had his own solo album too. Maybe
Yes.
Ridge Runner or something like that.
Yes, he did. Somewhere Over the Rainbow
Yeah.
was the
That's a
name.
fine album,
Oh, definitely. He was,
Is
You
he
know,
still
one of-
around playing or?
I haven't seen Dave for several years, but he still lives in Fort Worth. And, they made reference to his size. He's a big man, was a very big man, but he has lost a lot of weight the last time I saw him. So he looked real good. And he lives in Fort Worth. And I don't think he plays regularly, maybe at a church or so, but he doesn't play
Yeah.
as far as early.
Okay. Yeah. We got Darren Aldridge visiting with us. Can you hear us there, Hoss?
I can. How y'all tonight?
Good.
Hey, we're doing good, Darren. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, we're just talking to Alan Munde about some Country Gazette stuff here. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to any of it.
What's that?
I don't. We were just listening to some Country Gazette with Alan.
Yes, I've been
Yeah.
checking it out here
Good.
this evening, watching y'all a little bit.
Yeah. How are things going? How are things going?
Things are going good. Just had a beautiful sunset here near Shelby, North Carolina tonight.
Yeah.
So can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. So while we're waiting for the Country and Gentleman set,
I need to go ahead and position the reel to where we can hear the
Okay.
gentleman. So you go ahead and talk with Alan and Darren, and I'll get this thing set up.
yeah, Darren and Alan, have you all met before?
I'm not certain. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, Um, so, Alan, you're welcome to sit in on the Country Gentleman set if you would like to.
Oh, I think you've probably got it covered.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I don't need to take up all your time.
Alan, it's really been good talking to you, and
Thank you for having me.
it's a very, very pleasant experience. So maybe we can call on you again before too
Please,
long,
please do.
and we love to have your insights and comments and everything. So
Yeah, I've really enjoyed your stories, Alan. I tell you what, it's nice having somebody that was there because you kind of take us back to the festival.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just one comment real quick. I believe the gentleman that introduced Country Gazette was a big time DJ out of Fort Worth named Bill Mack.
okay,
And he was really big in his day, was the truck drivers all night DJ. And then the gentleman you heard at the end of the set was Bill Grant, just so
okay,
you'll,
okay. That's good
but
to know.
that's all. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Alan, and come back and see us soon.
I'll sure do
Good
it.
to see you, Alan.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take care.
Seth. All right.
Thank you. See you,
Thank
Alan.
See
Okay.
Jan, I think we're about ready to go here with the Country Gentleman set. If you want to go ahead and tell folks who's on with us, I think Darren's on now, so go ahead and tell them who's with us.
Darren Aldridge, it's great to have you with us. It's been a while. I guess I saw you in a Bluegrass First Class last.
Yep, up at Asheville in February, I guess it was.
Yes. So I've been checking out your Facebook streams and stuff. And are you doing much besides that right now, or are you pretty much isolated?
Yeah, we're pretty isolated, but we have done some streaming shows, of course, from
Yeah.
our home. And then we went up to Hickory, North Carolina, and did a really nice no contact concert series with the
Okay.
fine folks up there. And
Yeah.
it was a very like a 10 camera shot with lights and sound. And that was about 2 weeks ago. And last Saturday we were up in Boone, North Carolina, and did kind of the same thing at the new Appalachian Theater up there.
Yeah. I bet that's a nice place.
It is. They just opened it,
Yeah.
I think, in October of last year, so they hadn't had but about 5 shows in there and had to shut down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Darren, I honestly, I've known you for many years. I can't even remember when I first met you, maybe 20 years ago or something.
Probably so, Jan.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, you played with Charlie Waller and the Country Gentleman together with my dear late friend Greg Corbett and various bass players, Ron Davis and Jimmy Bowen maybe. And so the reason
Ronnie
I
was
invited
playing bass.
you,
Ronnie was playing bass at that time, and we also had Mike Street
that's right.
come through at that time I was playing, and Les Deaton here from North Carolina as well played for a little while, and then Billy G finished out
That's right.
the last year or so with us.
Yeah. So, of course, this is an old recording we're going to listen to. So you are, I don't know, you were probably not even born when this was taped, but you played, how many years did you say you played with Charlie?
I played about 5 years. I started in 99.
Okay.
Played. Charlie passed in August 2004, and we continued on with Randy until I think the next February or March of 2005.
Yeah. Well, I remember Greg was playing with our band at the time, New Vintage, And
Yeah.
we played at Bass Mountain, probably 92. And he he came up to me and said, like, man, Charlie Waller just asked me to join the band, you know. I was like, man, do it. I love Greg, you know, and we'd love to have him in the band, but at the same time, going to play with somebody like Charlie, I certainly understand. And he was with him for, I guess, from 92 and on.
Yeah, I think he played 12 or 13 years with Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so
Also a banjo player, great harmony singer.
yeah. Yeah.
Darren, tell us real quick, if it is a quick story, I don't know what your background is. How did you get started with Charlie? How did you come into that band?
Well, I met Greg and Ronnie out at Spigma for the first time. That would have been, I think, 2 years before I started. And I was out there in the band competition playing with the band, and I talked to them, and I guess they'd heard me play then, and had asked me if I'd be interested. Dwight McCall was playing mandolin at the time, and he was fixing to leave, and they had just started with Jeff Davis, was going to start playing for the next year. Anyway, I knew Matthew Aldred. Matthew had been there a long time, and he'd went with Jim and Jesse to play.
That's right.
And, of course, Rick Aldred, I'd been playing with him in some different configurations around North Carolina for a while, and Rick had told me they probably going to be looking for somebody. And Jeff didn't last but about 3 or 4 months, I think, and he went on to play with Mountain Heart for a little while. So Greg called me within that next year and asked me if I'd be still interested in joining them. So I went down to their house. It was it's playing Eliezer down there near Troy, and it kind of in between Troy and Denton. And I started picking with them right at New Year's Eve in '99. I'd have been 98, so that was 99. I started that next year.
Yeah, Eliezer, I recall there was some kind of a center block building that we used to play at. You remember that? It was a very hot place in the summer.
They probably wasn't good air conditioning in
there. It was. We were really sweating to the oldies back then, you know. But
everybody come through there and played.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think the run Charlie and them did was they do Eliezer and Everett's Barn and maybe Jekyll Island all in that same weekend.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept those same bookings every year. So.
Yeah.
But I got up on the bus and could play like Rebel Soldier and Redwood Hill, and he asked me if I could sing Waltz of the Angels, and maybe something else. We didn't practice but about 4 songs for my audition, I guess you could say. Then Charlie said, "Can you play Rawhide?" So I played that next, and he said, "Well, go home and get your clothes, son. It's, January up in Warrenton, Virginia. You can play."
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great. That's a good story.
Yeah, definitely.
Jan, you want to go ahead and put on some of this set with Country Jam?
I was just going to say, I saw the Country Jam the first time in 1980. They were in Sweden at the time, and that was Rick Allred and Ken Tadao and Bill Yates and Charlie. That was a great experience for sure.
That would have been the band just after this set that you're going to play, I guess, because I believe Rick replaced Doyle.
Yeah, this is it's got Skaggs and Doyle Lawson and
Douglas.
Yeah, Jerry Douglas. Yes. So it's kind of a big lineup there with dobro and fiddle,
Right. Yeah.
You always play.
Been right when they recorded the Vanguard.
Right.
Record.
Exactly.
That's right.
That Vanguard series was probably my favorite cuts of the whole Gentleman material.
Yeah. So is that James Bailey playing banjo or?
It probably is. He played on one of the records, and Emerson played on the other.
Okay.
They had two, one called Remembrance of Forecast.
Yep.
And
that was
the two records.
That was Bailey on that one. Remember?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I know he was around Charlottesville.
Yep.
Lived there. I haven't. I had some contact with him on Facebook, but it's been a few years.
I think I got to meet him one time. He was at a festival and come over and saw us and got to talk to Charlie, but that's the only time I ever met James. Now, his cousin Clyde Bailey was from Richmond, Virginia, and Clyde was a great banjo player, and he actually filled in for Greg quite a few times.
Oh, really?
Yep.
All right. So this would be 1974 at Hugo, Oklahoma.
You got it, and we're all queued up, so we'll
listen
about
just play a few numbers, and then we can take a break and ask Darren a few things.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Here we go.
Thank you. That's called Yesterday. I had a couple of requests to do this song here. We did this yesterday. It's an imitation of a little boy, a little girl, a duck, and a frog. No. When I get to the girl part, would you girls please help me with the chorus? Certainly, we'd love to. Yeah, this is kind of the story of my life.
You can't tell the story of your life.
So, I ain't got a home.
You got a home, you ain't got no furniture, so.
He's got a sleeping bag.
No, she left.
Well, I thought she was still there.
She got tired of
When
being
did she
alone.
leave? Yeah, I go now. Watch that. Whoa.
got a voice, and I love to sing. I can sing like a girl, and I can sing like a frog. I'm a lonely boy, I ain't got no home. I'm a lonely boy, I ain't got no home. It's a part like a girl. Cut it out. This is the part like a duck, and I don't do this very loud. If you fellas could please hold it down. Play very softly, please. Rick. My duck's been sick.
Do you think you're a mom hope or something?
Here I go.
You're lonely what? Wait a minute. You're lonely what? You drive a four-wheel pickup truck. Y'all like his imitations? Do you like them? Well, I just asked because I don't like them. Charlie,
Hello, Rick.
hello, Rick. Do you imitate Porky Pig? He's my favorite TV hog. Ham, porker, oinker.
This weekend, no, I'm sorry, I don't do Porky Pig. But
You don't do Porky Pig?
No.
I swear.
If you act like a tree, I'll imitate a dog. Real low this time, like a frog.
Well, you get that part good, real low.
You got a brother, you got a father, you got a mother, you got no mama, you lonely frog. Read it. You got no
I've got a voice, and I love to sing. I can sing like a girl, and I can sing like a frog. I'm a lonely boy, I ain't got no home. Okay, well, we've got a... here's okay, here's my request. We'll do as many of them as we can. Do this especially. Let me see, who did I do this for Al Jordan, a good friend of mine who used to play music with from down in Louisiana. Now, the legend of the rebel soldier. In a dreary Yankee prison, where a rebel soldier lay, by his side
there stood a preacher ere his soul should pass away, and he faintly whispered, "Parson," as he clutched him by the hand, "Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland?" Will my soul pass through the Southland, through old Virginia grand? Will I see the hills of Georgia and the green fields of Alabama? Will I see that little church house where I pledge my heart and hand? Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland? Was for loving dear old Dixie in this dreary cell I lie. Was for loving dear old Dixie in this northern state I die. Will you see my little daughter? Will you make her understand? Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland? Then the rebel soldier died. Oh, yeah. Okay, we haven't gotten a quartet on this one yet. Huh? Okay, we'll do this for all the Perrys. Bill Perry, just all the Perrys. It's called A Beautiful Life. And Mrs. Grant.
It's her birthday. Bless her heart.
Happy birthday.
Bill Grant's mother. Happy birthday to you, huh?
Well, my birthday's
Happy
next
birthday
July.
next-
Let's do it for me, too.
Let's go ahead and do it. Around in April, it comes before you.
Let's just do it for everybody's birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to us.
Beautiful Life.
Each day I'll do.
Each day I'll do
a golden deed.
a golden deed.
My helping Lord.
My helping Lord.
Who are in need.
Who are in need.
My life on earth.
My life on earth
is but a span.
It's but a span.
And so I'll do.
And so I'll do the best I can. Life's evening sun.
Life's evening sun
is sinking low.
is sinking low.
A few more days.
A few more days.
I must go.
And I must go to meet the
deed.
To meet the deed
that I have done.
that I have done.
Where there will be.
where there will be no setting sun.
To be a child.
To be a child
of God each day.
of God each day.
My light must shine.
My light must shine
along the way.
along the way.
I'll sing His praise.
I'll sing His praise
while the ages roll.
while the ages roll.
And try to help.
And try to help some troubled souls.
Life's evening sun.
Life's evening sun
is sinking low.
is sinking low.
A few more days.
A few more days.
I must go.
And I must go
to meet the deed.
to meet the deed
that I have done.
that I have done.
Where there will be.
Where there will be no setting sun, no setting sun.
All right, I figure we'd take a little pause for the cause here. Darren, I want to know how many times you played the one Legend of the Rebel Soldier. I'm sure you played that one a few times.
I know we did it every time, that's for sure.
Well, what do you think about some of that stuff with Ricky and Doyle? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, that was awesome. Now, I believe that was Ricky also singing baritone on the Rebel Soldier there. I know Yates always would do that, but that's the first time I've heard that like that, live with Ricky singing the other part. So that was pretty cool. We always still did the frog song, even when I was in the band. Charlie loved that. He had a really good frog, didn't he?
I wondered if he still carried that on into when y'all were in the band with him. Yeah, we did that one and did Hank Snow a lot. And I heard somebody holler out Cripple Creek. We'd do that little fun song at a time, and slow motion, and Charlie loved kind of cutting up on stage and doing any kind of comedy stuff. He was all in for that.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah. And the thing about Charlie too, when it was time to get serious, man, he could really lay it in there with some of those traditional songs too.
Oh yeah, sure enough. Great rhythm player and of course wonderful lead singer.
Yeah. His rhythm, I've never really heard anybody play rhythm quite exactly like Charlie. Probably never be anybody like that. What was it like playing behind him playing guitar?
Well, it taught me a lot that I still use today in my rhythm guitar playing, listening to him so much. He was very dynamic. He knew what to play behind a part in a song, whether, the singing was going on or a good banjo break or mandolin break, fiddle would come in. He'd be right there laying it to you, behind that. So it really carried the whole band. And that was a great experience for me to hear that whole time. But he was a wonderful, wonderful rhythm player, just like Jimmy Martin. I heard a lot of people say that about Charlie and Jimmy. They carry the whole band just with the guitar,
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Jan, you've had a chance to play with Charlie Waller. What was your experience with him?
Well, I think Darren played with us both times. It was I got to play with him in Buena Vista, Virginia. And also in Raleigh at the Tiernanog.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
right
of course
downtown.
It was thanks to Greg, of course. But I have
Jan,
not.
I think you played one of those in the hotel down there in Raleigh one time, I believe, with us, where they had the Christmas thing this past couple years. I believe they had a show in there, and I remember you playing with us down there one time.
Yeah, it's possible. I haven't seen any pictures or videos. I can't prove it,
I'll back you up.
But yeah, there's got to be some proof. But you remember it, maybe, yeah. But it was a big moment for me. I had, one of the first bands I got introduced to is the Country Gentlemen. This old, the early stuff with Duffy and Adcock, and those some of the first albums I ever got a hold of.
That was powerful stuff with Eddie and John. Sure.
Yeah. It's a great sound.
John
told me time that they was cutting New Freedom Bell, and this is when we was in the studio doing something. He said back in the 50s when they recorded that, when they did John's part doing the lead, when he went up to the high lead on the chorus, so they put him in another booth away from the microphone. He was so loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't believe, in that one, just in that time in the 50s, said they had to put him in another room.
God, that's incredible. Yeah, he had a huge voice.
Yeah.
I remember when we did that song in the studio for my gospel album, and you and Greg, and I can't think of the bass player's name.
I believe Harold Simpson came up and played bass with us for
Harold,
that.
yeah, it was Harold. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but just to sit next to Charlie and hear him sing, that was, and we had to kind of show him the words,
Yeah.
the lyrics, But man, when he opened his mouth, sitting next to me like that, it was just sort of one of the out of body experience or something, You know how it feels.
And very soulful singer. I got to do that a lot in the last couple records. I'd be in the booth with him, helping him with the words or showing him right when to come in.
Yeah.
And it was a good time for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's missed by many, of course. Is his son still playing?
I'm not sure if I hadn't talked to Randy in probably 2 years or more. I know that he lives over around Chattanooga or just south of Chattanooga there.
Okay.
And but Randy was a fine singer at what his style was and doing. He was a great guitar player.
Yeah.
He had filled in for Charlie a couple times when Charlie had his first stroke. And then Charlie had him, come on with us about that last year and make the last record and just be there for us for shows the last year of Charlie's life.
Yeah. But what year was that?
That'd have been 2004. Yeah, because Charlie died in August in 2004. It's hard to believe he's been gone that long.
Yeah. Yeah. So around that time, do you remember playing with him at in South Carolina at some kind of resort or campground, maybe?
In South Carolina? I don't right now.
Okay. I'm trying to think when the last time I saw you all play. But it was around that time, 2004. Yeah. So yeah, Randy had a similar voice, didn't he?
He did. Now you ain't thinking about Ocean Lakes, are you?
Yeah, at Ocean Lakes, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we did the festival down there quite a bit.
Yeah. I
with
remember
Charlie and with Randy.
Charlie was very funny on stage. In later years, I thought, he seemed really just hilarious sometimes.
Yeah, he could really hold a crowd.
Oh yeah.
No matter what. I mean, he really had the people in the palm of his hand. Most all the time. It was amazing to stand up there and watch and really learn and try to learn how to MC that well and talk to the folks and engage and pick songs. What the crowd was wanting. I mean, we got a ton of requests and always had to play a lot of those country gentleman hits, but
of course
it was tell what was needed to be coming next.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's well respected. I know Tony Rice thinks very highly of his guitar playing, and so he's had a tremendous influence. And I don't think he gets the credit for all the. He's been like a bluegrass school.
Yes, very much so. The country gentleman.
Yeah, I mean, as much as anybody out there, thinking about all the great talents over the years from the beginning of the band, 1957 or so? I mean,
1957, yeah.
Yeah, you had some of the best players in our music, coming from Charlie's school of musicianship.
Yes, and we just listening now to probably one of the best configurations I think to come through there. I mean, it had, Duffy and Adcock was a great series, but the Emerson and that time when Skaggs and Flux was there and Dole was a very good time too.
The 1972 lineup was strong. with Emerson and Doyle and Yates.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite albums. Is like the award-winning Country Gentleman album. I love every song on there. There's not a bad song on that album.
But then you go on to the one with Rick Allred and Kent Dowell, and they did a gospel album. I think there was a gospel album. Let's Sit Down, Young Stranger. I think that was. That's a great album.
It is. Yeah, Doyle was on some of that, but Kent and Rick was also on. Doyle left about in the middle of that record being cut.
Yeah.
And then the River Bottom was the next record that Kent and Rick was on, and that was some very good music there too. Yeah. Rick playing dobro just about like Mike Aldridge on there.
Yeah.
How many albums did you get to be on with Charlie, Darren?
I was on a gospel record called Crying in the Chapel, and then we recorded 45 Years of Memories, which went back and did, at the time, CDs was really booming and selling good, and some of the old records wasn't out on CD yet, so Charlie didn't have a lot of material that we were doing on stage to be able to sell at the CD table. So he recorded a lot of those old classic songs, so we got to go in and record that record called 45 Years of Memories. Yeah. And then in 2003, we recorded the Songs of the American Spirit album. And actually, Eddie Adcock produced that record for us. And it won the Spigma Brass Album of the Year in 2005.
Okay.
So I was on 3 records with him.
Yeah. So, as far as your own career, Darren, you're really hitting pretty big here. I'm sorry, because all this COVID thing is going on. It's bad for all of us who try to do some kind of music for a living. But tell the people about your you and Brooks duo.
Well, me and Brooks been going strong now for almost 12 years, and we've been very blessed and fortunate to make. I guess we've made about 8 albums now. Our current album's on Rounder Records called Inner Journey. Yeah. And the first time I met Brooke, it was shortly after Charlie had passed away, and Greg Corbett and Greg Luck, myself and Billy G, along with another dobro player from North Carolina, Jarrett Carter, had formed the Circuit Riders.
That's right.
And we did one record, and we'd all played and traveled for many years, and we decided that we was just going to play a little bit as we wanted to, and play some festivals and some different concerts and put a record out, but not really go at it real hard, because Greg's kids was pretty young at the time, and so was Jarrett's. But I kind of wanted to play more and more, and
right.
And I met this young lady up in the mountains of North Carolina named Brooke Justice, and I started singing some with her and bringing her to the festivals when the Circuit Riders had a gig, and we'd get her up to sing, and just people fell in love with her, and so did I.
Yeah, wonderful.
We got married shortly thereafter, and started putting our own band together, and we've had a wonderful journey thus far. She's 3-time female vocalist of the year for IBMA.
She's a wonderful singer, and together you all have a wonderful sound, really. And also you've been doing some stuff with John Cowan, who is one of my all-time favorites.
Probably about the last 4 years, we've been teamed up with John Cowan from the Newgrass Revival and the Doobie Brothers. It's been a fun time. He's a member of the Doobie Brothers, but through the winter months or first of the year, they don't have that many gigs, and it just fit well with our band, what we was doing and the vocals, and we try to play as much as we could there in the last couple years together. So, and we've been touring also with Jimmy Fortune from the Statler Brothers.
That's right.
Doing a lot of country music and acoustic music with him, and that kind of led us to become able to play at the Opry quite a bit. We was on one of the early Opry cruises with Jimmy and got to meet a lot of those same folks. And they heard me and Brooks' duet style of singing.
Yeah.
And we got to be on the Country Family Reunion show and Larry's Country Diner. And we've made 25 Grand Ole Opry appearances in the last 3 years.
Wow.
Just as Brooks.
That's something else. That's quite an achievement. Congratulations to that.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time.
Yeah. So let's see. Seth, are you there? Maybe we could play a few more numbers and then talk a little more to Darren.
I've got one of my favorite numbers coming up, Heartaches. Looks like that's the next one on the set list. So looking forward to hearing that and some others.
Thank y'all. Yeah, let's see. Heartaches. This is an instrumental that we recorded years back. I think this may be on our next album too. We re-recorded it. There it is. Play these Jimmy Dean chords on there. Heartaches. Oh, okay. Take Mary home. Well, we'll do that there and right after this year. Very special request for a fella who came a long way. Haven't done this in a long time. I hope it turns out all right. Something we done recorded a long time ago called the Banks of the Ohio. I asked my love to take a walk, just a walk a little way. As we walk, oh, may we talk all about our wedding day. Only say that you'll be mine in our home, we'll happy be down the side where the waters flow on the banks of the Ohio. I took her by her lily white hand and dragged her down to the river bank. There I pushed her in to drown, watched her as she floated down. Only say that you'll be mine in our home, we'll happy be down the side where the waters flow on the banks of the Ohio. Was walking home between 12 and 1, thinking of what I had done. I murdered the only girl I loved because she would not marry me. The very next morn, about 4:30, the sheriff's men knocked upon my door. Come, young man, come now and go down to the banks of the Ohio. Only say that you'll be mine in our home, we'll happy be down the side where the waters flow on the banks of the Ohio. We done this next song here last night, and several requests to repeat it. I think it's one of my favorites. It's warm up here. It's called Centerman. It's an acapella. sinner man, so discouraged, while traveling through this land, oh Lord, this land. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus just to hear what he has to say. My God Almighty spoken, he said, go and I'll go with you. Open your mouth and I will each speak for you. For the Lord, tell me what to say. They won't believe on me. Some say, give me silver, Lordy. Some say, give me gold, my brother. I say, give me Jesus, for he's precious to my soul. My God Almighty spoken, he said, go and I'll go with you. Open your mouth and I will each speak for you. For the Lord, tell me what to say. They won't believe on me. I wouldn't be a sinner, Lord, I'll tell you the reason why. My brother, afraid the Lord might call me, and I wouldn't be ready to die. My God Almighty spoken, he said, go and I'll go with you. Open your mouth and I will each speak for you. For the Lord, tell me what to say. They won't believe on me. Thank you very much. We don't have much fun. We sure do make a lot of money.
Woo! Now for what? Let's get water. We request the old pine tree later on. Why don't you do it right here? Rick? We also had a request to do that Johnny and Jack medley thing that we have on our sound off album. And we got to do Old Parent Tree. Let's do the Johnny and Jack thing, then we'll do the Old Parent Tree. If we do two in a row that's real slow, I might go to sleep. I don't know. I'm supposed to imitate a giraffe today. What? Imitate a giraffe. Did you hear it? Boy, that's great. How'd you do that? Do it again. Did you hear it again? Wow. Can you show me that? Do it again. Hear it? It's a giraffe. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, Johnny and Jack. Here's 3 short tidbits of their songs put together to make one big one. Oh, your poison love has stained the life's blood in my heart and soul, dear. And I know my life will never be the same. All my things have all been in vain for you and you alone, dear. And I know that you are guilty of the shame. And to each life my love is born for one and one alone, dear. The love I chose was surely not for me. But still my heart cries out for you and you alone, my darling. But fate will never ever set me free. For your poison love has stained the life's blood in my heart and soul, dear. And I know my life will never be the same. All my things have all been in vain for you and you alone, dear. And I know that you are guilty of the shame. Let your conscience be your guide, it won't lie to you.
you live as others say, someday you'll be blue. I'm not begging you to stay if you're dissatisfied. You may go or you may stay, your conscience be your guide. Once I offered you the moon if you would hang around. The only thing you'd have to do is climb up to take it down. Should I've hired a referee instead of a preacher that night? Instead of love and obey, it's been fuss and fight. Let your conscience be your guide, it won't lie to you. If you live as others say, someday you'll be blue. I'm not begging you to stay if you're dissatisfied. You may go or you may stay, let your conscience be your guide. Ashes of love, cold as ice. You make the debt and I'll pay the price. My love is gone, there's no doubt. Ashes of love, the flame burned down. I trusted you, dear, our love would stand. Your every wish was my command. My heart tells me I must forget. I love you then, I love you yet, my brother. Ashes of love, cold as ice. You made the debt and I'll pay the price. Our love is gone, there's no doubt. Ashes of love, the flame burned down. Which one do you want? Thank you very much. We got time here for one more. We just got the word. Oh, anything we didn't get on this show, we'll try and get on the next one. We got another one to go later on this evening. A whole lot of entertainment here this evening, so we'll do one and take it out. And I don't know which one that is. That's all we're going to do. I would have got to drink water. I just played it back out. You tell me. You go right ahead. Oh, we'd like to thank you in advance for the hand we're going to get when we get through here. I ain't been tuned all day. Every time the weather changes, I have to go back to Nashville to get Bill to tune my mainland for me. Sorry if I need you. We had a lot of requests. Somebody wanted to hear the Orange Blossom, or somebody wanted to hear Daybreak in Dixie, and let's do Daybreak. So I guess we'll do Orange. Okay, we'll just do that one, and then we'll do Daybreak in Dixie after a while when we come back home. All aboard? Yeah, all right, yeah. Orange Blossom. Is that what you wanted to hear? I'll fix you. I'll fix you right now. Now let's see you pick up there. Oh, Stacy, say look. Like that. Oh, you're supposed to go. Ring around the collar. Hey, Bluebell's here. Thank you.
Come on, take a bow, fellas. Well, they'll be back later on tonight.
Wow. You know, I was just thinking that band is just eat up with talent. I mean, instrumentally, I mean, just Doyle Lawson, he's just a no nonsense, you know, just powerful
Yeah,
mandolin player.
he was
never,
lighting that man up.
yeah. And you know, Ricky Skaggs, he was pretty good on the fiddle too, you know.
Oh yeah, and
I mean,
Douglas was.
And as we mentioned earlier, the vocal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
Douglas
even get
was probably just a teenager. I believe Douglas was maybe 17 or 18 at that time.
Yeah, something like that. Because he wasn't very long with let's see now, Crow. He must have played with Crow after the Country Gentleman.
Yeah, you said that was 1974 there?
Yeah, 1974.
Yeah, so he played first with the Gentleman, and then
they recorded that Crow record, what, in 75 with Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Skaggs' first show, there's a live recording of it somewhere with JD. It's November of 74, so it had been not too long after this festival.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. But it's really so many leaders in that one band, you know, if you think about it. You know.
Yeah. But it's real cool to hear them acting all cutting up.
Yeah.
At that time, coming out was really good to hear.
Now, tell me, Darren, is that Who is that on bass? Bill Yates or?
Bill Yates, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you must have known Bill quite well.
I knew him pretty well because he came to or was at a lot of the festivals, especially
Right.
around Virginia. We would play, and Charlie would always get him up to sing a couple. And Charlie was doing the bass vocals on all those quartets we just listened to, but Yates had a strong bass vocal as well. And I remember him getting up and singing some quartet stuff with us, and it was very good always, you know.
Oh yeah.
And to hear a bunch of them talk. Bill was a pretty tough and rough fella for those years in the 60s and 70s. He didn't want to be on Bill Yates's backside. I heard at the Bluegrass Festival.
No, he was a pretty stout fella, no doubt about it.
As you say, Jan, he had to go through the bluegrass trenches with Jimmy Martin and all those guys.
Yeah.
He went to the real boot camps, you know.
If there was ever a problem, I think, and somebody needed straightening out, they always got Bill Yates to straighten them out.
Yeah. Well, it's a good to have you on here, Darren. And you heard, of course, that IBMA here in Raleigh was canceled.
Yeah, it's going to have a virtual IBMA this year, so all streaming and video contact only, and they're going to announce the nominations tomorrow, I believe, at 11 Eastern time. So everybody check that out tomorrow. I think the announcement's going to be on them in Sirius Radio.
Why don't you tell the people what your website is?
Mine and Brooks is darrenandbrookealdridge.com, and we've got a YouTube page as well, and you can get our music anywhere out there from iTunes, Amazon. We've got a Spotify indoor page and all the good stuff that you can find Darren and Brooke Aldridge.
Yeah, I'm going to post it here in a little bit.
Okay.
So,
are y'all up for any nominations this year, Darren?
I'm not sure yet. We made a bunch in the second ballads, but they will pick the top 5 and let everybody know who they are tomorrow at 11. So
okay,
we'll
so y'all did make it to the second round with quite a few things.
We did.
Good.
Well, I hope everything works out for y'all.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm not much involved in IBMA. Well, I go down to that festival every year, and I have a ball every time. You know, it's the best time. I don't get out much anymore, so it's just like a kid in the candy shop, seeing a bunch of old friends and stuff. Yeah.
I think it's been some of the best while it's been in Raleigh.
Yeah.
I believe I never got to go to Owensboro, but I went to Louisville and of course Nashville when they had it there, and enjoyed both of those times. But I think Raleigh's really embraced the convention and the whole festival, and it's just grown very very big since it's been down there.
Yeah, it's something else. I remember the old Owensboro, when he was in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Right.
And I think, it must have been 86 when I saw Alison Krauss at IBMA, and she was like 16, and she was playing a lot of.
That would have been
80s.
Maybe some of the Pizza Hut showdowns they had, or Kentucky Fried Chicken, I guess was.
What's his name? First guitar player, John, songwriter.
With
Allison.
Allison. Jeff White was in there first playing guitar, and her bass player.
He wrote
a lot of those songs. Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name too.
Yeah.
How about you, Seth?
I don't know. The earliest I remember, like you said, Jeff White, and I loved his stuff.
Yeah,
Allison.
Yeah. Yeah, but there was just to see her there, she was not very well known, and her fiddling was just as impressive as anything. She's just tearing it up. Now later years, she sort of play her fiddle pretty sparsely, but back in those days,
Right.
she could bear down with the best of them.
Turn it down.
Yes,
question.
sir. Yeah. So,
When did you move to Carolina, Jan?
well, basically since '86, I've been here since '86. First in Asheville.
Okay. Right.
First in Asheville at the Bluegrass
Uh-huh.
Center there, and with Clyde Franklin and with Milton Harkey and some people. But then I've been in this area since '89 when we got married. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, Brooke and I started a new little series called the Carolina Sessions, and we'd like to get you on there with us sometime and talk about your bluegrass history and all the bands and recordings and this North Carolina scene, if you will. We've uploaded one with Terry Balcom here this past week.
I saw that. Yeah.
And we've got several lined up, but I'd love to talk to you sometime.
Oh, sure. And then, we did that recording with Charlie Waller years ago with you and Corbett and Harold and we
that
should
was probably 2002 maybe.
Yeah. And nobody brought a camera that day. What a shame.
Was it Nobody's Child? Is that what we recorded?
Yep. See, if we could remix redo it with you and Brooke singing it would be awesome.
Well, we need to get together and do that.
Yeah, we can probably do it even over the internet.
Yeah, just send us the files and we'll get it done sometime and
That'd
send
be
it
awesome.
back to you.
Yeah, all right.
It'll be the no contact, no studio session.
It's a weird reality, but we'll have to do the best we can,
That's right.
I think bluegrass musicians are doing a good job of improvising right now, like what you're doing, Darren, and then of course, Jan, what you've been doing as well. So, I think we'll find a way to make it through.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, bluegrass has always got a great family and especially good friends, and we'll all pull through together and hopefully come out on the other side maybe sometime next year and get back to playing some live shows with some people, and we'll all be stronger and better for it.
Yeah.
It'll be a good feeling to pull up at a festival again, won't it?
It sure will.
That Portland John is going to look downright attractive.
Some of them will. I don't know. I couldn't care to see some of them again.
Yeah, I know. I can think of several actually.
Yeah.
The old Bass Mountain on a Sunday wasn't too good.
That'd be the Bull's Nest down there at Bass
Mountain. Yeah. But anyway.
I loved your conversation with Tony here last year. I guess it was hearing Tony talk about that backstage and all. That was very good.
Yeah. Have you had any contact with Tony lately?
I have not. It's been probably a couple years since I've talked to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I talked to him back in February, but now I haven't heard from him. Well, since February, so. But
I hope and pray he's doing all right.
Absolutely. He's a wonderful human being as well as one of the greatest ever guitar players.
Absolutely.
So what you got coming up here? A little more country gentlemen?
Well, we're done, Jan.
Oh, okay. So that's the
we're all finished up. I didn't realize it. I thought we'd have enough time for another break, but that was the last song. It kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah. Well, you have any more messages to the people, Darren or Seth? Or
I appreciate you guys having me on tonight and letting me hear some of that as well. I had never heard the center man there. I've never heard him do that before. That was very good to listen to that for me the first time.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. It's amazing some of the stuff that pops up on these live recordings that you wouldn't normally hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Skaggs was playing some pretty swing influenced fiddle there, didn't you think?
I did. Yeah. He sure was. I've always thought he had a great style on the fiddle and loved his mandolin playing was very, tasteful like that. You hear a distinctive style in his mandolin playing too.
Yeah, especially what he did during the Crow years. You know.
Yeah.
You
know when you heard him.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the early country stuff too, that where he would throw some bluegrass stuff on those albums. Mark Pruitt playing the banjo, and I think Tony Rice was on some of that stuff, and I always enjoyed that stuff too.
Yeah, and Hicks playing either fiddle or banjo.
Yeah,
That's a lot of what got into playing music that much was listening to. My parents were both big Ricky Skaggs and Emmylou Harris fans, so I heard those records, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
Just growing up, and that was my whole beginning of learning, listening to music and singing was them.
Well, you have turned into quite a force in bluegrass music today, I have to say.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Jan.
And I guess we'll just hang up here, Darren. We'll get in touch with about that program you were talking about.
Okay, that sounds good. And again, I thank you guys for having me on and enjoyed this very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Darren. We enjoyed it thoroughly.
Send your best.
Hopefully we'll get to pick again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Send our best to Brooke from us, and take care.
I surely will.
All right.
Yep.
Take care,
All
Hon.
right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See you. Now I see. Did am I here by myself now? Well, that's not an ideal situation, but thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. I assume that we're not going to do any more music, so but thanks for tuning in. There was some really good music and some good comments from our friends Alan Munde and Darren Allred. And thanks to my young friend Seth Rhinehart. Good night, everybody.